This is All About Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things, questions and markets related to Bitcoin. Little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network, a collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation. All Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Michael Casey, filling in for Christine Lee all this week. Now, look at our top stories. Well, the minutes from the Fed's June policy setting meeting were just recently released, and they suggest a somewhat more hawkish stance from the team that sets US monetary policy. This is coming in the wake of a recent spate of data showing rising prices. 13 of the Federal Open Market Committee's 18 members now believe they will start lifting rates sometime by the end of 2023, with 7 expecting a rate hike as early as next year. In March, most officials expected the Fed to hold rates steady through 2023. Most FOMC members say they still believe rising prices to be a temporary, pandemic-fueled phenomenon, but some said they fear inflation might rise to inappropriate levels if elevated inflation readings persist. Okay, there's some drama as well in South Korea, where CoinDesk Korea reports that Lee Jung-hoon, the former chairman of crypto exchange BITHUMB, has been indicted on charges of swindling $100 million from Kim Byung-gun, chairman of South Korean manufacturing conglomerate BK Group. The news comes as South Korea's main financial regulator issues a warning to banks, asking them to stop taking such a soft stance in imposing new know your customer requirements on crypto clients such as exchanges. In a more positive story for the sector, Visa's head of crypto, Kai Sheffield, told CoinDesk's Nate DiCamillo that the card provider's partnerships with more than 50 firms in the industry yielded more than $1 billion in crypto-based spending and rewards issuance in the first half of 2021. Right, so checking on Bitcoin, the CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is currently trading at $34,732.73. That's up 2.47%.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
Time now for the chart of the day with a look at Coinbase on NASDAQ. So shares of Coin are mostly unchanged on the day after the investment firm Oppenheimer raised its price forecast. Still, this 3-month chart, which shows Coinbase's price trend since the crypto exchange's high-profile listing in mid-April, does suggest a plateauing out from the steady decline it had seen since then. And now, Oppenheimer analyst Owen Lau is saying he's more bullish on Coinbase, citing expectations for strong second quarter results. Lau raised his stock price target to the nice round number of $444. Last week, MERCADO Bitcoin, the largest crypto exchange in Brazil, announced it has raised $200 million in a new round of funding. Coming on the heels of El Salvador's decision to make Bitcoin legal tender, it's another reminder that Latin America is now in sharp focus as a prime region for Bitcoin adoption. Joining us now to discuss Bitcoin in Latin America is MERCADO Bitcoin Director FABRICIO TOTA. Welcome, FABRICIO.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. Thanks for being here. So we hear a lot about adoption in Latin America. What kind of user growth is MERCADO Bitcoin seeing at this stage?
Yes, you're right. Crypto adoption here in Brazil, in South America, is really happening. For example, MERCADO Bitcoin, we have onboarded more than 700,000 new customers only this year. So we have reached 2.8 million customers on our base here, which is a pretty good mark for a company that right now operates only in Brazil, right?
Has that growth continued as we've seen the price wane in recent months, or you're talking really about most of that happening at the beginning of the year?
Yes, of course. Price is something that brings clients to any retail crypto exchange. But more than that, we're focusing not only on Bitcoin, but other coins also, of course. We list 38 pairs here, and other crypto assets also, like tokens representing real assets. So, of course, primarily, Bitcoin is the king of the market, so it draws a lot of attention when the price rises. But we're pretty sure that people are getting used to moments when the price is not going to go up forever.
So this past month, El Salvador got a lot of attention around the region with its move to make Bitcoin legal tender. And we, in fact, saw legislators from Argentina, Mexico, Paraguay, and even in your country in Brazil showing their appreciation for Bitcoin. So tell me, how real is the prospect that other countries in Latin America would follow El Salvador's lead and leverage Bitcoin as a tool for monetary sovereignty?
Yeah, I don't see that happening in the short term. Of course, El Salvador movement is very important as it gives an option for some countries that have some small economies or fighting with their local currency. El Salvador used US dollar for a long time, so adopting Bitcoin is not that shocking when you compare with that possibility in Brazil or Argentina, Mexico, Colombia, and so on. So I believe it's something that opened the eyes of regulators, but I don't believe it's going to be followed by a larger country in the short term, right?
So just looking at the macroeconomic environment, Brazil has had a difficult last few years, right? You've had horrendous toll from COVID, for example. Obviously, the prior president's charged with corruption, and a lot of political and economic unrest. How much of an impact does that macro environment have on demand for crypto and Bitcoin and so forth?
It's huge. It's a huge impact because crypto and especially Bitcoin propose an alternative when it comes to currency, right? So going to Bitcoin, investing in Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin, or selling your local currency, that's a way of seeing that when you buy Bitcoin with your local currency, you're selling your local currency. It's something that I believe that needed to be a much larger move than we can see. I don't get it how people are a little bit afraid yet, and if we can say that people are protecting themselves when they're seeing inflation in dollars, let's say in Brazil and other countries in the region. I think that the development and the attraction of Bitcoin to people should be larger than it is. And that's what we are preparing to do here.
Well, thank you very much, Fabricio. That was Fabricio Tota of MERCADO Bitcoin. Coming up, Peter Wall of ARGO Blockchain with Bitcoin mining news. Welcome back. So where in the world are Bitcoin miners going now that China has sent them packing? Well, if this tweet from last month is any indication, although possibly a bit of an exaggeration, a ton of Chinese miners just landed in Texas. And apparently they're enjoying a good old Texas barbecue. Our next guest knows a bit about Bitcoin mining operations in Texas and elsewhere. His publicly traded company focused on large-scale crypto mining recently acquired land in West Texas to construct a new mining facility. Joining us now is Peter Wall, CEO of ARGO Blockchain. Hi, Peter.
Mr. Casey, how are you doing?
Very well. So tell me, why Texas? What are you building there, and why is that the place to be right now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Texas is a fascinating story. I think for a long time people thought it was too hot to mine in Texas, but that's changing now. But the main reason that people are being drawn to Texas right now is low cost renewable power, and this very unique grid and this unique infrastructure which miners can tap into and have tapped into and are continuing to tap into. So there's lots of power, it's low cost, it's a business friendly state, it's a pro blockchain state, and that's just drawing a lot of people there.
Right, but I mean, obviously, we had the news last year, high profile, or earlier this year rather, of the grid problems in Texas. It was just for a week at least, something we couldn't stop talking about. Does that pose a problem or an opportunity for mining in the state?
Well, as they like to say, it's a feature, it's not a bug, even though it sounds weird to say that about, power outages. But the thing that's unique about Texas is that there's these ancillary curtailment programs, which you can tap into as miners. And so you can be a steadying, reliable source of load for the grid at times of low demand or medium demand. And then at times of high demand, you can shut down and give power back to the grid and allow, people in the summer to cool their houses and other folks that really need the power during these times of high demand. And those periods of high demand are not a large amount, but there's obviously enough capacity that's built on the grid for those times. You need to build for, when the system is going full out. And so because of that ability to give power back to the grid, you're able to get really low cost power, some of the lowest cost power in the world. And we're tapping into that by building a 200 megawatt data center in West Texas that you alluded to, Michael, at the start. And that's going to be operational in the first quarter of next year.
And the impact of that, I mean, this is imposed through contracts. I mean, I was exchanging with somebody last night about this, and they were saying, well, it's all very well to say that Bitcoin could solve these problems, but the miners aren't being properly held to account, and ultimately they still carry risk because they could just choose to go away at some point. How enforceable is this, I suppose, is the question for people who worry about the sort of negative perception of Bitcoin in this context.
Look, I think that sounds to me like some FUD. I haven't heard a lot of those arguments. What I do hear is that miners are signing long-term power purchasing agreements, PPAs, with large utilities, and taking the power from those utilities under those contracts, and those utilities are happy to sign those contracts. So I think there's folks that are doing it. It's going to continue to grow. The state is open to it. So certainly the municipality or the county that we're going to be setting up shop in is very happy to have us, and we're going to be bringing jobs and vibrant new business to that part of the state, which has not been doing very well in the last 5, 10, 20 years. So I think it's a good opportunity for Texas, and Texas is not the only story. There's lots of other parts of the world that are more rural places that are kind of on the edge of power grids. We also operate in northern Quebec in a community called Baie-Comeau. The municipality is very happy to have us there. The mayor is very supportive of the project. Again, we're bringing jobs and collaborating with the community. So there's at the end of the day, your take on whether Bitcoin is a good thing for renewable power or not generally comes down to whether you think Bitcoin is a good thing or not. And if you're anti-Bitcoin, you tend to not feel too great about these projects. And if you love Bitcoin, you see the value in Bitcoin, using more and more renewable power and helping build out that part of the energy grid.
So what about these much vaunted Chinese miners? Are they coming?
They're coming. Oh yeah, they are coming, Michael. There's no doubt. I can't get into any specifics about conversations ARGO has been having, but certainly there's lots of Chinese who are looking across, the Pacific at North America, and primarily North America, as a place to expand to, because they see low cost renewable power, and they're aware of ESG concerns with their own business as well, and they see a stable environment that is open to Bitcoin mining and open to cryptocurrency mining, and they don't have that in China, and they look at other parts of the world and they say, not so sure, we want to be in some of those jurisdictions for a variety of reasons. Security being one of them. So they're definitely coming. It's going to take a while for that hash rate to come back online, because you don't spin up 80 or 90 or 100 exahashes worth of capacity overnight. It's going to take 6, 9, even 12 months for it to come back on. But what an interesting development. I mean, no one saw this coming 2 or 3 months ago. There was some rumblings about here and there, and there was a region that went down and then it came back up. But now it certainly happened, and the Bitcoin mining landscape is shifted in a period of 60 days that no one really could have foreseen, a little while ago.
Yeah, a remarkable change. Just one quick last question. Your company recently joined the Crypto Climate Accord. Tell us a little bit about what that entails, because it does involve something of a commitment to reach, I suppose, lower and maybe even neutral carbon emissions. What are you doing to assure that is achieved?
Yeah, well, we've been outspoken, since we started mining in 2018 in Quebec, that we think renewable power is the best way to go. That crypto and renewable power should be built out hand in hand. And so the Crypto Climate Accord is a commitment. Those guys have done a great job setting it up, but it's a commitment from our company to be carbon neutral by 2030. Now, we will far exceed that, but that is a goal. It's a line in the sand for other companies to try to meet, and hopefully we can get there. There's lots of positive initiatives happening right now around ESG, around sustainability, and around cryptocurrency and Bitcoin mining. And so we're happy to be kind of on the front edge of those. We're also doing a clean mining pool called Terra Pool. We're launching our own climate action plan. So it's an interesting time in the ESG world for crypto right now.
Good stuff. All right. Well, thank you, Peter. That was Peter Wall of ARGO Blockchain, and you're most welcome. That's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm Michael Casey. Join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines. You're watching CoinDesk TV. Bye for now.